Welcome to Tier 1 Jank. I am Marcus and it is deck tech time. Today I'm going to be showing you my version of the Raw Infinite Combo deck. Now you probably will see other versions of this deck online. I haven't really taken the time to look up the other lists. I'm sure there are a lot of similarities in the list. This is my version. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this one. I'll go ahead and explain the combo first in case you're not aware of it. There is a new Planeswalker in War of the Spark, Raw Storm Conduit. His static ability says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, he deals 1 damage to target opponent or Planeswalker. Now there are similar effects like this in the way of Electrostatic Field or Gutter's Knife that deal damage when a spell is cast, but this one is different as it also counts copies, and while we don't have ways to cast infinite spells without infinite mana and cards, we do have ways to cast infinite copies. So if we can use infinite copies of expansion, say, then we can keep triggering Ral infinitely and just deal enough damage to our opponent, whether they're at 20 or 200, to finish out the game right then and there if they don't have an answer. So that's what this deck is trying to do. And the way that works is the easiest way, the one that most people are looking at, is to have 2 copies of expansion and another spell. The easiest way is to have a 1 mana cost spell. So we have 4 copies of Opt and 4 copies of Shock. So you'll target something with Shock or cast your Opt, and while it's still on the stack holding priority, you cast expansion. Still holding priority, you cast a second expansion targeting the first expansion, which makes a third expansion, and you just continue the line copying your expansion over and over again. Now that does take 4 spells altogether because you'll need Ral on the field. You'll need him, usually if you're playing early in the game, you're going to need him to stay alive until the next turn to be able to play this, or it's going to be very late in the game and you're going to have enough mana to pull this off all at once. So another way to do it without a 4 spell, to do it with only 3, is to get Raw out, have an expansion explosion, and double cast. And the way to do this is a little bit different. You have to use Raw's -2 ability. Now that says when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, you copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So the way this works is you -2 Raw, you cast your double cast, which will copy from Raw's -2 ability. You let the copy resolve with the original double cast still on the stack. You cast expansion. Now since your first copy of double cast is resolved, it will copy expansion, making 2 expansions. You target the first expansion with the second expansion and proceed on as normal like you would with the 2 expansions and third spell. So that's the combo in itself. As I said, there are the 1 mana cost spells to try to help enable it. The other thing we have to worry about, besides just getting the combo to work, is staying alive long enough to get the combo and get it to work. So in order to do that, the rest of the deck is dedicated with that thought in mind. We have 4 copies of Revitalize. We'll gain 3 life and draw a card. Remember, any of these spells can also be copied with any of the copy spells or with Ral. So if we need, we really need to gain 6 life instead of 3, we can do that. We have Blink of an Eye to just tempo our opponent or maybe get Ral back to our hand if we need to. We have 4 copies of Lazatet Plating to protect us as well as Ral, or just put a body down on the board if we need one to block. We have our 2 copies of Double Cast, 4 copies of Depose Deploy, and this might look a little weird. I'm not sure that other people will have this one in their list, but it does serve multiple purposes. In the early game, we can just pay the 2, tap down a creature that we really don't want attacking us, and draw a card. Or later on, we can cast the Deploy, get our 2 Thopters, get some life, and if we really need to, we can double cast that with either Rawl or double cast itself, or Expansion Explosion, maybe even on our opponent's end step or while they're attacking, to get 4 Thopters and gain at least 6 life if we don't have any other creatures on the board. Because remember, the first copy is going to resolve with 2 Thopters on the field, and then the second copy will resolve with 4 Thopters on the field, gaining you the additional, in total, 6 life from those bodies altogether. Now, to put other bodies on the board, we have Saheeli. I thought this was a good card when I saw it, but playtesting with it a bit, it's more powerful than I thought it was even. If we can get her down turn 3 and just start playing Ops and Revitalize, Shock, whatever, just getting bodies on the board, it can oftentimes just gum up the ground and make it really hard for our opponent to get through. They might have flying creatures or creatures with trample that, they won't be able to deal with as easily, but she oftentimes helps a lot. We also have 2 copies of Deafening Clarion. This will help keep the board clear early in the game. Remember, we can also copy this if we need to, dealing 6 damage instead of 3 to take out larger creatures or even things like Carnage Tyrant. So that's available. And we also have the 4 copies of Expansion, which is part of the combo, but sometimes we need to use this just as an explosion to kill something or draw cards. The rest of it is just the mana base. It's usual Jeskai mana base. I have 4 of everything that I have on Arena. Everything that you see that's a 2 or 3 of. As far as the dual colored lands, I would just put 4 of in there and cut down the basics. We would probably either want a red or a blue source as the last single basic land. But other than that, that's the deck. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be testing it a bit. This might not be the final version, but I think this is definitely going to be one of the decks I'm going to be wanting to run in the standard season coming up. So let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for joining me.